Welcome all audiophiles and music lovers. Today I'd like to show you something a bit special. Quite recently I visited Audiovector factory in Copenhagen. I flew there to see in flesh, unique in hi-fi industry, loudspeakers upgrade program. To get full idea about it, I sent my own SR3 signature speakers prior to my arrival. During one sunny afternoon, my speakers have been completely rebuilt. They got new drivers, new crossovers and other extensive modifications. Here they are. I hope you will find this not too short video informative and interesting. Enjoy!
So now these speakers, which are SR3 signatures, will be upgraded to SR3 Avantgarde Arrete. The first step you have to make is to unscrew the drivers using a special bit, because we use this special Audiovector screw. It's made for Audiovector and it's made from a good quality steel and it's chrome plated. This is also a design element. You know, inspired by the watch industry, we have special screws instead of standard screws. I think we need to take some of the damping material away. We need to replace it with something else, and we take the crossover out, and then we have to prepare the inside of the cabinet with a couple of shock absorbers and with some new damping material, which is specially designed for this application. Damping material is one of the most important things in a loudspeaker, because you need to have exactly the same volume, exactly the same quality all the time, exactly the same size, because if you vary damping material, you will vary the sound. So in order to be able to reproduce and reproduce and reproduce the same quality of our speakers, we take this very, very seriously.
How many types of different damping materials are you using?
Two. One of the differences with damping material is that it's the flow resistance. So if you can adjust the flow resistance to the rest of the situation inside the cabinet and to the drivers, then you can fine adjust the sound also, the dynamics and so on. Yesterday we listened to the difference between a signature and an Avantgarde Arrete, and one of the reasons there's the difference is the damping material. One of them, not the only one. So as usual, it's many small things which pool together to one bigger difference.
There are important differences in the construction of the drivers.
Oh yes, oh yes, yes.
It applies to tweeter and both woofers, right?
Yes. Now the woofer inside here is the same one as this one. And this is a woofer with three fixing points. Three fixing points are very important for the sound quality. And three fixing points are gives a much better sound than, for example, 6 fixing points.
Because of the one plane?
Because there's no stress in the chassis when you mount it on 3.
It's always flat. I mean, it better adheres to the surface. It is connected.
So, and this chassis is used for all the drivers. And in principle they're engineered in the same way, but this one is engineered as a bass mid-range. For this purpose and for this purpose. Now the mid-range we're going to put in here is more of a mid-range. This is the mid-range driver, the new one, which is going into your loudspeakers. It has a double magnet, an elongated pole piece which is black so it absorbs heat. It's open so there's even less compression, and it has better dispersion also. This membrane is lighter than the membrane of this one. It goes up to 10 kilohertz without the crossover, and it's engineered to do that because it needs to match an air motion transformer, which is the fastest treble driver you can get. So we have a shorter voice coil in this one, and we have a lighter membrane, and of course adjustment of the suspension parts accordingly. From the outside it looks the same. From the inside it's not. This woofer has a heavier membrane also than this one, and it has a voice coil which is again special for this driver. It's a little bit longer than this one, and this is a dedicated bass driver, you could say. It will go high up in the mid-range, but it's a dedicated bass driver. Again, 3-point fixing. Again, if you look at the structure, you can look through it. There are no air pockets, there's no compression. Everything in a speaker like this is engineered according to our low compression concept, rules or dogma. And low compression means that the membrane must be able to move according to the amplifier. It must not be stopped by any air traps or anything else. It needs to be able to move, because then it will reproduce the dynamics of the music correctly. It will do everything the amplifier tells it to, and it will last forever. It will never be too hot and burn off or anything, because it's able to move and able to convert any electrical energy into sound. It does two things at the same time. It supports the sides of the cabinet to lower the vibration, but it does not rise the resonance frequency of the side panels as a bracing would, because it also has this elastical part, and it works very well in reducing coloration and in creating a more black background when you listen. This is developed for the Arrete models. Compared to the signature model, you will have a cabinet which is more quiet. The important thing is to make it quiet without adding weight, actually, because if you add weight, you will make it quiet at one frequency, but then the frequency, the resonance will move down in frequency, and then you will just move it to another place. The whole idea is to make it quieter without moving resonance frequencies around. You see, he removed some white damping and he puts in some gray damping. And the difference between the white and the gray is that the gray is more open. It's called the nanopore damping because it has a variety of sizes of pores which is able to absorb efficiently, and which means both efficiently and make broadband absorption. So we don't absorb at one particular frequency. We would have done this if we'd used something like glass wool or something. Then we would have absorbed at a very narrow area. We absorb in a broad area, but more softly, which means that we get a more linear dynamic response. So when you have a pair of speakers being upgraded, like the ones you brought here, the signatures, they will be fitted with all the parts necessary to form an Avantgarde Arrete. They will be cleaned and polished, and they will be packed in new cartons. Everything will be new, and with a new warranty, as if you bought a new speaker. And there's absolutely no difference.
So the warranty is extended after this upgrade?
Renewed. Dennis will put chrome screws in instead, because it matches the aesthetics of an Avantgarde Arrete. Yeah, both the screws for the drivers and these corner screws are
What do you do with the drivers that are being taken out? Will they be fitted again or somewhere?
No. I think they're put in a storeroom for spare parts, but this is a strange disposition because we hardly use any spare parts. This means that we don't use 5 of these drivers a year for spare parts. They simply don't break, and this is because of the way they're engineered with the titanium voice coil former and with the low compression concept where it's always able to move instead of building up heat. It has an extremely good power handling, and maybe people are also careful with them. But as you heard yesterday, we could play pretty loud. I have no problem in just firing up the 300 watt amplifier and just playing loud. And it's the same with the tweeters because of the principle they're made with the no compression principle. They simply will have a much higher power handling than other tweeters. I think we say with the tweeters that they can take 1,000 watts tone burst for 5 milliseconds. But if you had, say, an old-fashioned tweeter like a dome tweeter, which was not without a rear chamber but just a closed one, it would say immediately. It's the same principle of crossover. The principle is called dynamic feed-forward. And in the dynamic feed-forward crossover, we are inspired by our active models. So we have developed this technology, dynamic feed-forward, because the result of it is that we can use smaller coils, less copper in series with the drivers. We're getting a bit closer to the ideal situation of an active speaker with no passive components. So we have a little bit of passive component, but not as much as in other speakers. And we only have one component in series with each driver, just one. First of all, the mid-range is rolling off itself, and then we add the roll-off of the filter, and then we get an ideal curve from combining the two. This is very important too. So if this was a 24 dB per octave crossover, you would have 4 or 5 times more components on it, and it would be a much tougher load for any amplifier. This is a very easy load. You can use 2 times 7 watt tube amp if you want. You can use the amplifier you want to use, no matter the power, it will drive them. The impedance curve is very with only a little bit of variation. The phase curve the same, with only a little bit of variation. Nothing is nasty here. An easy load always, because it sounds better. Because you want all the components to run cool, not warm. The cooler they run, the better it sounds. The super plinth, it's different from a signature plinth, as you can see, because the signature plinth has these spike rails. That a super stand sounds better on a concrete floor than on a wooden floor. It gives a bigger advantage because you have the heavier floor. Because you don't want to build up energy anywhere, and you don't want to. This is one thing. The other thing is you want to transfer energy. So these stands both transfer energy through the spikes into the floor, because you want to transfer energy away from the cabinet.
That's right.
So you don't want to isolate the speaker from the floor. Never. It will sound dark and slow. Then you need to get any leftover vibration rooted away from the speaker. And the reason why the plinth is made the way it is, of course, is that we have this cut off here. So the worst standing wave, which is usually in a loudspeaker between the top and the bottom, is totally avoided. We have no standing waves inside this cabinet, which means that we can use very light damping and with a very light material. Like women, speakers look better on high heels, right? Yeah, in order to build a signature version, we use this baffle, which is much heavier than the previous one from the Super. And it's also round, and I think it looks better. And but the main thing is it absorbs more more vibration than the other one. So this is one component defining a signature model. You see here the apertures for the SEC system. It gives the tweeter the space it needs, and it reduces distortion, and it.
So it's breathing.
Yes, it breathes, and you can also hear it when you listen to it that the speaker is breathing naturally instead of being stressed. Tweeter. It has a special damping on the rear. It's a silk dome, reinforced with nylon. Some people have said it's the best soft dome around. It's at least one of the best. It's faster than most, and it sounds very good. This was the top model until we invented the special version of the air motion transformer we use. This one goes up to 26,000, but the air motion is 53,000. It's not that we can hear it. We cannot hear this high. Not any human. It's not possible for any human being to hear that high. But the fact that it goes so high means you move all problems way out of the human hearing range, and this you can hear. This is made from a brass and copper alloy, which we know sounds good, and then it has a layer of what you call technical nickel. Technical nickel is actually the most important component here, because this is where the electricity travels. And then on top of that is a layer of gold. People think the gold is what makes the difference, but the gold makes sure it looks nice and it doesn't corrode. And the Avantgarde tweeter is air motion transformer.
Did you have to do some modifications to this to obtain exactly what you want?
Oh yeah. If you look at this, this is an exploded view of it. We make this plate ourselves. And because it has to be of steel which you can magnetize. The rear plate is open, so this is the only air motion transformer which is open to the rear. And the membrane itself, it works like, you know, like an accordion. And this is why you can have a membrane which is 8 times bigger than a 1-inch dome, weighing only 80% of it, and being able to go up to 53,000 hertz. Now you're getting a real tweeter. Before the drivers are installed again, of course the chassis is checked to see if there are any dents or anything. That means that the speaker might go back to ScanSpeak if it doesn't look correct. If it's not soldered and sealed, then you will have corrosion, and corrosion means third harmonic distortion, which we don't want. small scratches, no problem to polish it away.
Polish it.
I actually showed somebody, I took a key and did like this on a fresh cabinet.
Really?
Somebody, and then I polished it away. Every time we upgrade something, we take pride in checking the cabinet, checking up the visuals of the cabinet, making sure everything looks fine. If there are small dents, we repair them. If there are sticky fingers on, we polish it away. We put them in new boxes and so on. So your experience is I get new speakers, right? Then serial numbers.